In most of my memories about painting, I was wearing heavy clothes and carrying a big drawing board to take the art exam in high school. At that time, I hated painting. I thought painting was just a tool to get me admitted to college. At that time, I naively thought that everything would be better when I went to university. However, I had been studying graphic design, and I rarely knew how to draw, so I didn't know where to start when preparing the illustration portfolio for study abroad. And I often looked at other illustrators' works online to find inspiration. So in the process of painting, I was always influenced by the contents and styles of other artists, so I could not form a unique personal style. I began to hate drawing. I didn't know why I wanted to draw, so I decided to have a gap year so that I could temporarily empty my mind and think clearly about the real meaning of illustration and design for myself. Then in July, a hot summer, I went to work in an advertising company in Shanghai. I became the party bee, and I had to design according to the opinions of party A every day. I was like an AI painting robot, and I did what others asked me to do. But this stimulated my idea of creation to find an inspiration for my own work. I remember that going to all the temples in Shanghai for a project on fortune telling. A master on the side of the road said I would make a lot of money, and I gave him 100 to thank him. I didn't become rich, but I rekindled my passion for painting. After leaving Shanghai, I started to prepare my illustration portfolio again. In the process of preparing the portfolio, I realized that most of my inspirations came from my hobbies and experiences in all my past creative time. Yeah, I have to say, it's my waking moment. For example, about my severe experience anxiety. I spent years struggling with my looks, my weight, getting plastic surgery, exercising like crazy. I wanted to use this project to tell my story and confront my own fears. And I hope that when people with similar experiences see my illustrations, they can be inspired. And I'm so happy when I know that my illustrations can cure others for a short time. At the same time, I found myself in the process of healing myself. I learned dancing and aerial yoga, and I became fascinated with vintage cameras and fell in love with photography. I'm so happy. I always believed that torture will make me better. I gradually found my own painting style and fall in love with painting and myself in the process of torture. When I finished my illustration portfolio, I was curious about the market and peers' comments on my paintings. I also wanted to know whether I could really become an illustrator, so I participated in an art festival. This was the first time for me to sell my works with a clear price. All my things were sold out, but I began to doubt whether my things were sold out because my price was so low, and whether I didn't believe myself to set such a low price in the first place. I thought every illustrator in front of every booth was better than me. I was just a half-time amateur. I started to feel insecure about my work, and I haven't posted my work on the internet. That's why I came to Kingston to study illustration. I hope to change myself and learn illustration with other people in my age. I wanted to know how other illustrators find inspiration and how they deal with their feelings when they feel insecure and not confident with their paintings. On the first day when I came to Britain, I saw a sentence: "Everything you feel guilty is throwing away on a trash can beside the River Thames." I think this sentence gives me strength, and I will throw all my diffidence and fear into the trash can. Then I had my first official class in Kingston, and the teacher asked us to take light ball and heavy ball to start our campus trip in Kingston. I guess it's interesting because I am the ball. When I was doing my first storyboard, I was very confused. I was a heavy ball, and I even went in the wrong direction at the beginning. What the teacher asked us to do was to choose Hampton photos to make a comic book. At this moment, I had an alarm bell in my mind. I have made an old habit again. In most of the past creation time, I was often closed, did not listen to others' opinions, and only concentrated on what I want to do. Communication is the most important thing in illustration and design. When I started to communicate my work in Padlet or with my classmates privately, I received a lot of encouragement. I think I began to become less afraid of showing my work to others. I became lighter. As a creative practitioner, experience is the most important thing to me. So, as a free spirit, preferring to let my style develop naturally with a sense of stream of consciousness creation. This is mainly in my use of color. I usually don't do any color research beforehand when painting, but try to use colors intuitively. I freely make colors according to the color style that suits the subject matter of my work, and by doing so, I often find something unexpected. Picasso's paintings have a great influence on me. He said he was colorblind and would paint people's nose red. This random way of organizing colors has a great influence on my painting. In the course of capstone project, I made a small zine about human zombies. When I was designing character at the beginning, a question I often thought about was, what method do people use to communicate and express themselves? My conclusion is that facial expressions and gestures are at the root of all communication. As a result, there is always a human element to my work, a surreal face of unique color, full of emotions and personalities, which can also be seen in my previous work. I think my waking moment is very random. Maybe it's a book or a movie I read. I often go out to find inspiration, go hiking in the forest, go to museums, go to art galleries, take a walk on the streets in each city, observe and experience the life of the local people, and take the things I see and short answer inspiration source of my painting. In the course of GDCP, teachers often ask us to think and do something that we are really interested in and will continue to study in the future, and encourage us to use some new technologies and different materials in our works, which coincides with the way I used to create. I think the meaning of painting is to express the seemingly ordinary moments in life through a more unique and creative perspective. In my opinion, the so-called creativity and uniqueness are not only reflected in the content of the painting, but also in the form of innovation, such as illustration device, to turn their illustrations into animation or 3D form. For example, in the global context course, I made a personal legends prior device using medieval cutlery I bought in a charity shop. In the course of emerging media, I tried to use 3D software to produce illustration content for the first time. I think it's very challenging for me, but I've developed a strong passion for it. I think I will often use 3D software in my illustration creation in the future. These paintings concepts have a great influence on my way of creation. My painting works are often accompanied by illustration figures, animations, and other forms. Therefore, in the future study and life in the UK, I will continue to carry on my painting concept, draw inspiration from life, and try more different painting forms. I will also participate in some art festivals in London to show my works confidently to the outside world.